Hello, everyone. Welcome to another one of our Day One and Beyond Did You Know sessions. In this webinar series, we focus on new features and enhancements of Oracle Cloud infrastructure and discuss how these solutions empower businesses to achieve greater efficiency, security, and also scalability. Whether you're a seasoned OCI user or just getting started with your cloud journey, you're in the right place to explore what's new. My name is Taylor Zhang from the Oracle Personalized Training Team who hosts these Day One and Beyond enablement sessions. Today, I'd like to welcome Tammy Bednar and Anand Prasad as we'll be talking about Oracle Exadata Database Service on Exascale infrastructure transforming database management.
Thank you, Taylor. Excited to be part of this session. Tammy?
Yes, thanks, Taylor. I'm excited too. Of course, this is one of my favorite topics. So, Anand, I thought I'd kick us off with some fun facts about, things that happened in our lifetime about databases and storage. So, did everybody know that in the early 1950s, the first computer programs were developed? And then in 1960, Charles Bachman designed the integrated database system. And from that, there was a task group called the Database Task Group, called the Common Business Oriented Language, called COBOL. And I don't know about some of you, but I actually started my career and in school, I actually did some COBOL programming, not fun programming, quite honestly, but I completely surprised that it's still used today, quite honestly. And this also came to be known as the codicil approach. But in 1970, really the father of the relational database was Edgar Codd. And so he worked for IBM and he wrote this paper, a relational model of data for large shared database. And then in 1969, ARPANET, at the Advanced Research Projects Agency Network, they came up with a TCP/IP protocol that we all are familiar today, and that was launched by the U.S. Department of Defense. And then in 1985, storage tapes that could store up to 200, oh, get this, 200 megabytes of data were available. Think about how much storage you have on your iPhone today. That's pretty amazing. And then in 2002, really the modern day cloud was realized by Amazon Web Services, launching in its first public cloud. So there's a lot of great innovation that's happened in our lifetime, Anand.
Tammy, I was just like, very, 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 the information was, I didn't know any of this, so I think thank you for sharing with me. I really learned something today. But I think before we jump into the topic, right, I just wanted you to, data is being a talk of the town for every company nowadays, right?
Yeah.
I want you to spend a few minutes before we dive into the topic. What are the fundamental challenges our customers and our, today everybody is facing today, so that I think I want to understand the challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I've been very honored and blessed to talk to many customers over my career at Oracle. And I think that these are the top 5 database platform challenges. There's others, but I hear about this continuously. The first one is security, and security is all important, protecting the data from unauthorized access. And then second is scalability, growing with increasing demands. I hear more and more customers having bigger and bigger databases. When I started my career at Oracle support 29 years ago, the databases were very small and now they're huge. And then on top of that, performance, by adding all this data, being able to still have fast query response and responsiveness to all the queries and workloads. Finally, then there's the maintenance aspect. I mean, you can just provision a database, but you still got to take care of it, right? And so being able to back it up, recover it if you need to. And then, of course, the all-important system updates to add those security updates. And then finally, balancing costs with the requirements to run those workloads. So I think balancing these top 5 challenges is key to successful database management today.
But Tammy, right, Oracle has been a leading database provider for many, many decades. The word Oracle automatically matches with the database. I'm pretty sure Oracle have seen these challenges across their customer portfolio. What is Oracle doing it to help its customers to manage these database challenges? Can we talk about a little bit on that?
Of course, that's my favorite topic too, is the Exadata vision. So Back about 16 years ago, we introduced an engineered system called Exadata. And it wasn't just a bunch of hardware with the database on top of it. We actually did a lot of engineering work to have three different points in this vision. One is data optimized hardware. We want to be able to scale out to optimize all that computing resources, and then using the latest networking and storage technology that's available with our latest generations. Second, it's not just the database running on the hardware. We have a lot of unique algorithms that we continue to add and enhance to deliver extreme performance and efficiency for those all important workloads like AI. I hear AI all day long. Analytics, OLTP, and all the other mission critical apps at any scale. But most of this is my favorite topic. It's engineered to run everywhere. It started on premises. It's now available at Cloud at Customer. It's available in the Oracle Cloud. And now it's available in multi-cloud solutions as well. And so with Exadata, this is going to provide the platform is going to provide you these all intelligent highlights to run your workloads, like in AI or artificial intelligence. Our database 23AI came out with a new data type called vector search. And on the Exadata platform, it can run the vector search queries 30 times faster with those unique algorithms. And then those all important analytics. Our customers have been adding lots more data into the database, but being able to intelligently utilize that data to help build a better business for their customers. And finally, OLTP workloads are our bread and butter of all the applications that you run, that we use the latest hardware-based RDMA to deliver fastest OLTP IO, and then a cluster databases be able to cross-node coordinate all those different queries together.
Tammy, I heard a word exascale. Yeah, that's interesting word for me. Can you spend a few minutes to talk about exascale, including the architecture and the components of exascale?
Absolutely. So let's talk about Exadata Exascale, the cloud architecture. So Exadata Exascale, again, we have these really great engineers at Oracle. And so what we've taken is the best intelligence of Exadata, the AI, the analytics, the OLTP workloads that I just talked about in our vision, and then mash that together with the cloud economics, being able to run multi-tenant databases, multi-tenant users, but then being able to pool resources together to efficiently give you the resources that you need to run the workloads, but make it hyper elastic. So give you the resources when you need them, remove them when you no longer need them. So this is really exciting with Exascale. And so the Exascale architecture is a new distributed storage management on our storage server. So this is kind of a picture of the Exadata platform where we spin up or provision virtual machines. Now, the Exascale architecture right now requires Oracle Database 23AI. And of course, we run the grid infrastructure on it so you can have clustered databases. Then you can see below that, we now introduce our new Exadata Exascale services, being able to pull all the storage and database resources together. We also provide volume management, redundancy, and partnering of the data, caching and tiering of the data, just like if you're using Exadata today, all those unique algorithms, we continue to be able to utilize those. Managing your file metadata. And I'm going to talk about something real exciting, these thin clones that we have available as well, on top of all the Exadata smart features. So just to kind of just dive down for one little second, this is kind of what the Exascale architecture looks like. We've actually created 8 megabyte extents to store your data, your log files, your trace files, and everything together. And we have spent a lot of engineering time to test this out. We found that 8 megabyte extents are large enough to achieve excellent sequential read performance, but it's small enough to distribute databases across many disk and storage servers so that we can fully realize the CPU, the memory, and the IO resources on the Exadata platform today.
Thank you, Tammy. I'm pretty sure, right? And customers will be very excited to know this new capabilities Oracle is offering. And also, I think customers wants to know why, if I'm be very candid here, how does Oracle database runs on this new platform? Like, what are the advantages they can get? Can you spend a few minutes on talking about the database on Exascale platform?
Yes, so this is the brand new service that we launched called Exadata Database Service on Exascale infrastructure. It's a brand new shared architecture that our service in our public cloud that makes it really easy for you to use. So because I talked about pooled storage, there's no dedicated hardware that you have to manage. So you provision a storage pool, and then out of that storage pool, that's when you provision your databases. It supports your databases. The great thing about Exascale is that you can start small with a single VM cluster or a 2-node VM cluster, 8 CPUs and 22 gigs of memory, and then grow those resources when you need them. Now, if you don't need those any longer, we can also scale back down. So it's very powerful as far as cloud elasticity. It has all the web and AI driven cloud automation for your databases as well. And of course, as I mentioned before, all those Exadata performance capabilities. So just to kind of give you a bird's eye view of the model, you can see that on the left-hand side at the very bottom, you create an Exascale database storage vault. And from within that vault, you provision your VMs to use this storage. Now, you can have more than one VM use the same Exadata database storage vault. It all depends on how you want to organize your data. Then from the VM, you provision the VM, you specify how much resources you want to have in that VM for those databases that are then provisioned inside the VMs. And of course, the data and the schema is all yours. You're all responsible for everything that's inside the database. Now, this is what's really cool is the ability to create thin, intelligent clones. And this is where the agility of the Exadata database service on Exascale infrastructure really kicks in. And that's why I mentioned that Exascale storage vaults can be used with more than one VM. So when you create a clone, and we're going to take a look at that in a minute, you specify when you want to create a thin clone. And if you want to create a thin clone across VMs, then you want to share the same storage vault. It's very fast to create a thin clone. It leverages the Exascale redirect on write technology, and it just takes a few minutes. And you can create thousands of these thin clones. You don't have to start with a master or a test master or anything like that. You just say, I want to take this database, I want to create a thin clone, hand it over to your developers or your QA department and start testing. And the most important thing is you get the native Exadata performance on all these development tests or recovery copy on clones. So you can create thousands of these PDB clones.
Wow, this is very interesting, Tammy.
It's so exciting. And then this is what is really great is the flexible configuration range. So maybe some of you out there have been wanting to start testing 23AI. Here's a great example and service for you to get started. You start with a 1-node VM cluster, 8 total eCPUs, 230 gigs of file system for your VM image, and 300 gigabytes of storage for your databases. And you can scale that up to 10 VM clusters, 200 eCPUs per VM, 2 terabyte file system size, and 100 terabytes of Exascale Vault's database storage per VM cluster. So whatever you need, whatever workload you have, the Exadata database service on Exascale infrastructure can meet that for you. Now, I talked about maintenance as a challenge. So Exascale, we also try to make that very simple as well. So here you have a VM that you've provisioned, and we have to do updates, right? So you'll get a notification that, hey, on OCI event, we need to reboot your VM so that it can be updated. Well, we just don't reboot the VM on the same database server. We move the VM over to a database server that's already been updated, and then we just point the VM back to that VM file system storage that you created previously. And you have control over over whether you want to reboot the VM in your timeline or you have Oracle automatically do that for you. So we make infrastructure maintenance really, really simple. And again, with a rack cluster, it's a rolling upgrade, so your database server is always available. And then I talked about security being the number one challenge. Well, we always have had database security defense in depth. And that means that you layer security across your infrastructure to achieve that all important security for your data. And everything that you use today with your database, we have available on the Exascale service. So, of course, we encrypt all your data at rest and in transit, and all the other database capabilities with data redaction, masking, subsetting, etc. And then we continue to layer on that defense in depth security for all the other features at the compute level, your networking, with your infrastructure meeting those compliance standards that you need to meet. And then, of course, we have identity and access management and multi-factor authentication also available for your security as well.
Wow, Tammy, I think I really love the way you covered a lot of the challenges we spoke in the very early in the slide, like the security point of view, the performance side of the things, the maintenance side of the things. Really loved it. But I think there's a great saying, seeing is believing. Like, I'm pretty sure the customers and the audience are very excited, the last 15 minutes, what you talked about it, right? Can you share
Yes.
something for the customers to take a look at the product itself?
Let me show you how easy it is to provision an Exadata database service on Exascale infrastructure. So this is a picture of the OCI console, and you go to the Oracle database, and then you click on Oracle Exadata database service on Exascale infrastructure. Then that will take you say create VM cluster. At the VM cluster level, you enter the basic information. Oops, sorry about that. The basic information of the display name and which availability domain that you want your cluster to be created in. And then this is where you assign or provision the VM cluster with those resources that you need for the databases that will be provisioned inside. How many VMs? Remember, from 1 to 10. How many eCPUs do you want enabled per that VM? You can also reserve additional eCPUs if you want to make sure that's available. And then for every eCPU that is provisioned in the VM, you get 2.75 gigabytes of memory. So if you need more memory, you can always add more eCPUs. And then how big do you want your VM file system image to be itself? It starts out with 220 gigs. And again, you can always increase the size of your file image. Then we're going to create the VM cluster of the storage vault. How much storage do you need for your databases? You specify, you can either create a new vault, or as I said, a VM can also share a storage vault with an existing VM cluster as well. So you enter the vault name, you specify the storage, a minimum of 300 gigabytes. You can increase that if you need more storage as well. Then you specify the grid infrastructure version. 23 AI is required, but you do have a little bit of leeway of which version of 23 AI do you want to use. We give you a choice of N-3 version, so you don't have to run on the latest if you don't want to. And then you configure the network setting. What's your VCN? What's your client subnet, the backup subnet, and then the host prefix name. And then finally, you can specify whether you want to opt in on diagnostics collection. This gives permission for Oracle DevOps to monitor the health of your Exadata VM cluster. And also we can get diagnostics events and health monitoring, and we can send that to you. So we try to be more proactive. And finally, if you have an OpenNSR, you can also give permission for Oracle support to go find those incident logs and trace file collection based on whatever issue you may be having with your system. And then finally, I wanted to kind of point out these advanced options, specifically the networking. I hear this from customers all the time. They don't want to use the default 1521 scan listener port. That's okay. So when you provision your VM cluster, you just change it here because you can't change it afterwards. After you've entered that information, you click on Create VM Cluster. In about 40 minutes, you now have a VM cluster. Now, the Exascale Storage Vault, you can go view your storage vault, but this is also where if you need to expand or add more resources, this is the place where you do that. You click on your storage vault, you can scale your storage vault, you can move the resource from one compartment to another. You can also see all the associated VM clusters that this Exascale Storage Vault is supporting as well. Now you're ready to provision a container database. You go over to your VM cluster, you scroll down to container databases, and then you're going to say create container database. You enter the basic information for the container database, the name, the database version, again, which is 23AI, but you do have, again, some leeway of selecting which version of 23AI you want to use. You can create or you can select an existing database home or create a new database home. Then, of course, you've got to add those all important administrator credentials in there, and then the backups. So you can configure backups to go to the autonomous recovery service for automatic backup capabilities or object storage. You don't have to enable backups. Remember, backups are enabled at each database level. So you may have some databases you don't want to back up and others you do. So you have that flexibility. And then under the advanced options, you have you can select the character set that you want to use for your CDB. And then the encryption, we encrypt that data. So how are you going to manage the keys? You can either manage the keys in the Oracle wallet, or you can also manage the keys in Oracle Key Vault or OCI Vault as well. So that's all you have to do to provision a VM cluster in a container database. Now, remember I was excited about the agility, the thin cloning capability. This is how easy it is. You're going to go over to your VM cluster that you've already provisioned and the database that we just provisioned as well. You click on your database and then you scroll down to the left to the pluggable database. Under the pluggable database, you click on that, and as you can see, we have a clone button. Click on the clone button. Now you have some flexibility of the type of clone you want to create. You can create a local clone within the same CDB. You can create a remote clone to a different CDB. You can create it to a different VM cluster. You can create a refreshable clone if you want to do that as well. So you have lots of flexibility to be able to create these clusters. You select the destination, you put in the new database name, and then you also want to make sure that checkbox at the bottom, enable thin clone, because that's what's going to give you that ability to create those thousands of fast clones to hand over to your developers. And click on Clone PDB. And that's all there is to it to create an Exadata VM cluster, a database, and a thin clone. And you can do all that within an hour, within 60 minutes, and you're off and running.
Thank you, Tammy. I'm pretty sure I think the customers were very excited about to know about this. We have 5 minutes to wrap up, but I think I want to spend last question on this, where are we heading to it? Where is this capability available for our customers to take advantage of it? What is the next set of features Oracle is working on so they can take advantage of it?
Absolutely, because we want everybody to try this out. So we've released the Exadata. We have services called Exadata Database Service on Dedicated, and that's where you have all the hardware and software. And you can create different clusters type. You can create Exadata VM clusters. You can create autonomous database VM clusters. Now you'll be able to create Exascale VM clusters as well. So think about the efficiency that you'll be able to utilize with your dedicated Exadata service. So here you can see with the Exascale VM cluster, we can coexist with your ASM storage as well as the Exascale storage vault. And so you'll be able to create an Exascale VM cluster and be able to utilize and get thin cloning capability on the same system that you're running your other VM clusters today. This is available today on Cloud at Customer. It'll be available very soon in public cloud as well. This is how easy it is to create it on dedicated. You configure your Exascale storage, you create the VM cluster like I just demoed, you migrate or create a database, and then you create a thin clone. So that's how easy it is to use the Exascale VM cluster. And now we're really excited. Just a few weeks ago, we've introduced our multi-cloud solution on Oracle Database at Azure. So if you guys are using the multi-cloud solution and you're running the Exadata database service, now you can also spin up an Exadata database service on Exascale infrastructure in Azure as well. And stay tuned because you'll see it on our other multi-cloud solutions as well. I have additional resources, so when you get this, you can take a look at the documentation. We have some blogs out there about the Exascale, and we also have a step-by-step guide on how to create an Exascale VM cluster on our clouded customer. So in summary, this is so exciting. It's a next generation software architecture. It's a hyperscale for cloud and database as a service. It's very powerful because we're able to resource all that pooling. It's very agile to create thousands of thin clones and very flexible to grow and scale down your resources when you don't need them any longer. And of course, the Exascale architecture is the foundation for that new shared architecture as well.
I mean, there are a couple of questions, Tammy. I think we
Great.
need to take it in the interest of time.
Sure.
Any technical limitation in deploying 19C on Exascale?
Yeah, today it only supports 23 AI, but stay tuned. Second half this year, you'll hear about we'll be able to support 19C on Exascale as well.
Can we change the listener port when we create the thin clone?
No, that scan listener port is at the VM cluster level, not at the database level, but you could always update your services for your database as well. So that may be possible to help you out on that one.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anand and Tammy. If you enjoyed today's session and want to learn more, here are some resources where you can take a look at some tutorials or live labs as well as documentation. And also highlighting more on our program. Today was a day one and beyond session, but we also do have personalized training sessions under personal training, as well as hands-on live labs walkthroughs under Quick Shot Live Labs. And we also do our Power Sister program, Code Innovate. This is where we have some engineers co-develop use cases with you. So if you find any of that interesting and want to learn more, please email us at personal-trainers_us@oracle.com. Just wanting to highlight the rest of our Day One and Beyond series. We have our core series, which is our regular webinar, our newly added analytics cloud. And hands-on, we walk you through live labs. And then we also have cloud native and security series as well. And today is our Did You Know What's New in OCI?
So Rajiv, you said the last slide says 24 AI. 24 AI is the Exadata system software version. And it currently we support 24 AI Exadata system software, which is OL8. And we also support 25.x Exadata system software as well. Sorry about that confusion. And then somebody asked about the storage. It is high redundancy, so we triple mirror automatically in the cloud, triple mirror the storage. The maximum storage we can allocate is 100 terabytes per VM cluster. So you could have an Exascale storage vault of at least 100 terabytes for one VM cluster, larger if you have more than one VM cluster for that. And then why is the name database vault? Does it store keys and passwords? OCI Vault is an OCI key management solution. And then Oracle Key Vault is a solution that you can, from the database team, that you can also provision in the cloud. And it also works with your databases on-prem as well.
Thank you so much for joining us, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.